Alrighty, now today we're going to look at, not that, sorry. Well, we're going to look at immigration and urbanization, how our country became what they are, and it's because of immigrants. And there's a lot of things we're going to talk about here. Now, when we became a country, if you will, there exists this. This, of course, is the Statue of Liberty, correct? It was a present given to us by the French when we were going there. And there is a poem inscribed at it, and it was written by Emma Lazarus. It's called The New Colossus. And I do want to kind of point it out to you very quickly. And so here it is, The New Colossus, right? Give me your tired, your poorly rested, your huddled masses yearning to breathe outside air, the wretched refuse of your teeming sorebacks. Send these. The not often home tempest tossed to me, I lift my lamp beside the golden epic door. We don't want the best. We want the ones that are oppressed or different things. That's what this country was built on. And so that's what happens. People start coming to this country and they get here for certain reasons, correct? So the first thing we have to differentiate between are what is called a push factor and what is called a pull factor, okay? And I really like this, right? Push, you force someone to leave. Pull, you kind of draw them in. Now, push factors, correct? You can see they are environmental, they're social, they're political, they're economic. Same thing as pull. And so they're leaving the country they've lived in for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're poor. Number two, they're fear. And then you have disasters. And finally, unemployment. Now, the pull factors, what brings them to this country are certain parts of this country. They wanted to find safety, opportunity, stability, and lastly, freedom. And so that is the difference between a push factor and a pull factor. Push factor means it forces you to leave. Pull factor will draw you in. Okay? Now, the other thing we have to differentiate between are what are called old immigrants and new immigrants, because in America, and I'm going to jump on my soapbox for a minute because I love the people with the "you're an American boy, speak American," which is the most unintelligent thing people can say because there is no American language. English is commonly accepted, but so many people came here, and I love this political cartoon explaining here because you have these men who've made their money, correct? They look very powerful, and they're telling this immigrant, get off the boat, whoa, can't be here. But what are their shadows showing you? They themselves were what? Come on, immigrants. And so how can this curtail? How can you stop this? And it was because there was a difference in these immigrants, and the new immigrants and the old immigrants. So let's talk about these two groups, okay? So the first thing we have here are the old immigrants. Old immigrants, they came from Northern, and they came from Western Europe. Okay, the whole purpose here is, for the most part, they spoke English, maybe French, and they can kind of acclimate into society. But they came here. They're Christian. They are white for the most part, and they are Protestant. Okay, that basically means that they're religion and it's not Catholic. So mainly they're coming from England, places like that, following over here, correct? And so there we have that. All right, so the old immigrants, they came from there, and they're building up something that we're going to talk about later on called WASP. And a WASP is basically a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. It goes into cultural superiority. It goes into that America idea, right? Now, the new immigrants, on the other hand, posed a lot of problems. They came from Southern Europe, and they came from Eastern Europe. Now, the problem is we have Italian, Russian. We have languages that are vastly different from English. They also brought with them different religions. Russians have what is called the Orthodox Church down here in Italy. It's where the Pope is, and in the papal state. And so they believe that, and that kind of, a lot of people bothered them here because there is no set religion. And so maybe by not understanding what Catholics are about, they're going to be discriminated on. So the new immigrants, they don't speak English. Their religion is different, their customs are different, and so for that very reason they are going to be hated upon. So old immigrants, they acclimated, they assimilated, if you will, very easily, whereas new immigrants did not. And so there we are with that. Now, if you came to this country, you went to one of two places upon entering. If you came from Europe, right, you went to the E, you went to Ellis Island. It is connected, it's actually a shared state park with the Statue of Liberty. This is what it looks like today. It's all these cool buildings, right? Now, if you go visit today, you can go into the Great Hall, which is this one right here. This is where you were inspected upon coming on the boat, and you were sent to society. Now, if you want to go on a cool ghost tour, you can go back in these little old hospital things over here, and there's all kind of cool things back there. So check that out, okay? Basically, if you weren't fit to go to society, you went over here, and there's a lot of weird occurrences, and so if you're into that stuff, go check that out, right? So Ellis Island is where you were coming if you came from Europe before you came to the United States. Now, if you came from Asia, you went to the one with the A, correct? And that would be Angel Island. It's in the San Francisco Bay, and this is basically Angel Island. It's the same idea. Later on, Angel Island becomes known because they were looking for, of course, the people who escaped from Alcatraz. But that's neither here nor there, okay? Now, once you came into this country, are you just going to become a citizen? And that's something that bothers people. Now, there's an organization, it's called the INS. It stands for Immigration and Naturalization Services. So you immigrate and then you naturalize, okay? So what does naturalization mean? There it is, right? Naturalization is the process of becoming a U.S. citizen. And there are a ton of things that are involved there into becoming American. Let me get it to here. The culminating event is where you actually go and take your oath. And you swear allegiance to the flag, etc., much like we do in school every day. And so when people say they stand up now, I think for youth, it's not very easy for you to understand. And I picked this picture for a very good reason. I see Hispanics, I see Arabics, I see everybody, and they do not have a problem standing up and putting the hand over their heart because they realize where they are now is far better than where they were. And yet we have a problem standing up for this sometimes, and that just perturbs me and makes me want to go on this rant, which I'm doing right now, correct? Later on, we're going to play a game. And that'd be a horrible game show host, I guess, but let's get a airplane out there, and if you don't get it right, you get to get out of the country. Because you know what you had to do to be a citizen? Be born. That's it. And these people had to answer some questions like you're going to here in a second, and then go through a vast different thing into how we look into this, all right? So that is naturalization. We're going to come back in here in a second with what happens afterwards, all right?